States. We are all in middle school together. It's been a long time since there has been a mama as middle school principal. Since Pat Smith, and that was a long time ago. I've been here 22 years, so it was before then. And so just in listening and in talking to parents and other admin from different divisions, we found that there is a huge gap between lower school and middle school. In preschool and in lower school, you almost have too much information, if there's even a possibility of that. You know absolutely everything that is going on. You know everything your child is doing in class, in every class. You're in and out of those buildings weekly. And then they come to middle school, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And of course, who's the first person you ask? Yeah. Your kid. And what does your kid say? Nothing. Nothing. What'd you do today? Nothing. How was school today? Fine. That's what you get. And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, am I going crazy? Or, you know, is this normal? It's completely normal. Completely normal. So think of this as sort of a parent support group. Now, I'm going to use the word mom a lot.
That's okay.
Please,
I'm on the side. I'm here on the side.
in your mind, think parent.
Got it.
I want to share with you a blog post that I found about from a very frustrated middle school mom, and I cleaned it up quite a bit. When your kid starts middle school, people often ask, how's your kid like middle school? With this weird trepidation. Most of the time, people answer with, it's fine. Kind of in that veiled way, people talked about how much they loved being a new mom. I've said it, you said it, we've all said it. But you know what? It's not fine. It is so not fine. It is exhausting, scary, and emotional, and confusing. And can someone please help me? Because I don't know how I'm going to survive the next handful of years. But yeah, sure, it's fine, if you say so. There are support groups for new moms / parents, breastfeeding moms, that can only be nice, attachment parent moms, and free-range moms. But what we really need is a support group for, I'm just trying to survive middle school moms. Can someone create that? Please and thank you. Every once in a while, though, when asked, someone might say, almost in an embarrassed whisper, middle school is rough. Or maybe they'll say nothing except sigh real deep and long and heavy, and you just know. You know. Because it's the same sigh you make 100 times a day. Because yes, middle school is that freaking hard. Even normal middle school stuff is hard. There are raging hormones, kids change schools, old friendships change, new friendships are formed, different teachers have different standards, romantic relationships and crushes start, and everyone is awkward and scared. Everyone. Some folks tell me that things get a little better once puberty settles down. Other folks tell me high school is a whole new level of disaster. Whatever the case, can we all just agree that this is hard? Add to that the 21st century complications like cell phones and social media, and OMG, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. When I was a kid, you might get busted passing notes in class or with a naughty magazine in your backpack. Now we have to worry about cyberbullying and sexting for kids who have massively underdeveloped prefrontal lobes. The expectations change, the stakes are higher, and everything feels a bit more serious and uncertain. Which is why the biggest lesson I want my middle schooler to know is to understand that middle school is just plain hard. And it's really hard for lots of people. Find those kids and make it a little less hard. And fellow parents, let's do the same. Let's be each other's support group. Let's stop immediately responding with, "It's fine," and tell the truth. Let's help each other out. And no, that doesn't mean smugly letting so-and-so know you saw their kid acting a fool, or humble bragging about your kid's travel baseball schedule or the honor roll ceremony. And if you're one of the lucky ones who's been spared the middle school suckiness, or you aren't there yet, or you've made it through, thank your lucky stars. Or if it's not hard now, hold tight and bite your tongue. And even if it's not hard for you and your kid, it's probably hard for your kid's friend, or your niece, or your neighbor. Because middle school takes no prisoners. Bottom line, be kind. You never know who's dealing with middle school. Now, I share that not to depress you, not to scare you, not to freak you out. But it is a different developmental stage. And those of you who have had middle schoolers or in the throes of middle school, you know what I'm saying. Thankfully, you're at the right place. We have a faculty full of people who understand this age group and who love them and all their quirky, awkward, bizarre ness. Stinky, yes, they do smell that. They do smell that, no matter how much they love. Yes. So they're in very good hands. So the goal of this group is to be support for each other and support for the kids who are in the throes of this really hard time in their lives. We want to get them through as happy and healthy and whole emotionally as we can. There are going to be some great days. They're going to come bebopping out to the car and everything's going to be great. And there are going to be some days where they get in the car and they just burst into tears. Whether something happened, whether it was real or perceived or whatever. And that is where the communication between the school and you all has got to be open. My cell phone number is listed in the Stratford directory. Text me, call me. I'd rather go ahead and deal with an issue than have it stew and linger. We just need to deal with these things head on. I cannot promise that every day is going to be a rose garden. That's just not reality. But we will deal with things as they come up. And I want you all to be able to lean on each other as well. And to call on each other and say, "Hey, did you hear anything about this?" Or, is it true that Mr. Lawson isn't giving any more tests or quizzes for the entire year? Because that's what my kid said. So, the goal of this group is, another goal is to bridge the involvement/communication gap that exists between the lower school and the middle school. I would love to get parents more involved in the middle school. We would love to see you all more in the middle school. And I know some of you work outside of the home, some of you volunteer constantly and you don't have any time, and that's fine. That is absolutely fine. But I also know we have some parents who would really like to help, but they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to start that whole process. So I'm going to have a list of things. Some will be super easy. Some might be a little more time consuming. I've asked teachers to think of things. So far I've gotten, it'd be nice if we could have a group of 4 or 5 parents who would come in once a month and watch the lunchroom for 45 minutes. I said, okay, I'll put that out there. We have bulletin boards in the hallways. Middle school teachers are not nearly as creative as preschool and lower school teachers, and ours just sit there and they're ugly. So if we have any creative type people, that would like to help us with those, we'd be willing to take the help. Something as simple as getting together parent drivers for a field trip in town. What were some of the other things that teachers had said? Gina, what else did I tell you? Do you remember?
You named
Some
all the
were
ones that we
simple.
talked about. For like, Miss Smith, our 8th grade science teacher.
Yeah.
She's got a big project with the students coming up in April where she has to make several different copies.
Yeah, the 8th graders in the spring do, at the end of their physics unit, they build their own roller coasters. And so the kids are completely in charge, they're in groups. It's a great project. You remember, Gina, right? And so the kids have to decide how many straight pieces, how many curved, how many loops. And so she's constantly running back and forth between the classroom and the copier. And so, you know, if she had a parent who could either run to the copier or stand in her classroom while she ran to the copier, you know, that would be. So, I mean, we're talking about a lot of involvement down to just, you know, sending in water for a field trip. But anyway, I would like us to meet monthly, at least, the last Friday of every month. So that means our next meeting is March 27th. I know that that is Grandparents' Day for 5th grade parents, but we'll be done in plenty of time. What time does that start, Kelly?
The doors open at 9:30 for the reception and the show starts at 10.
Right. So we'll be done in plenty of time.
Will you videotape like you're gonna do this one for those who are volunteering and stuff?
Yes. And then we'll meet April 24th and May 15th, because the 22nd is the last day of school. And then I do have some March dates. We'll go over April dates in March, but I have March dates up on the board. Next week, Thursday, the 8th grade is going to the Shakespeare Tavern to see Romeo and Juliet and eat at the varsity. They're very excited about the varsity. Then next Friday, I have a 7th grade science candidate coming to teach and spend the day. I should probably interject right here. I have 2 science positions to fill next year, a 6th grade science position and a 7th grade science position. Ms. Hanbury is retiring and moving to Oregon. Yes, to be with her adorable grandson and her aging mother. And then Miss Smoke is moving to South Carolina in 6th grade. The 14th of March, the 6th grade math team is going to travel to Americus to compete in some competition that Miss Elder started when they were in the 4th grade. It's the same group of kids. The 4th quarter begins on March 16th. I cannot believe we are 75% through this school year. Blows my mind. Then the 18th, that's a Wednesday, is middle school registration day. And we'll send out an email either today or Monday about how to sign up. You'll sign up with your child's homeroom teacher and go in and register for the next day. For the next year. But that's just for middle school, just for 6th, 7th, and 8th, not 5th.
So we don't do anything going up to 6th grade?
No, because they really don't have any choices. And then something new this year on that computer monitors everybody. The very next day, the 19th, is the middle and upper school talent show, and this year we're going to do it during the school day, which should be fun. And then the next day, the 20th, the 6th grade goes to Fernbank, and we are not eating at the varsity. We do not take 6th graders to the varsity. Too much. And then the next Friday will be our next middle school U, and we'll talk about ITBS and April dates, and then March 30th through April 30th, spring break. Yay. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about what we are sort of tossing around idea-wise for next year. We really want to focus with the 8th graders on that class being the leaders of the middle school and being the examples to the 6th and the 7th grade of how to be successful, student-wise, athletic-wise, character-wise. And that's a great group of kids. If you don't know that group, it's a great group for us to start with. So some of the things we want to do, and we are keeping money in our heads because 8th grade already goes to DC, which is an expensive trip. They do that in May. And they go to Six Flags after they build roller coasters. At the end of they do a math and science day at Six Flags. But I have found in, I believe it's Tennessee, Oconee Outdoor Center, which does fairly inexpensive 2-3 night trips for school groups. It includes whitewater rafting, ropes courses, leadership, building relationships, type activities. And so we're looking into doing that with the 8th grade at the beginning of the school year, to sort of solidify that. We also would like to do an 8th grade graduation. I know a lot of other schools in town do an 8th grade graduation, and we never have, so we're talking about doing that. We would like for the 8th grade to take on more responsibility with the middle school council. I think that would all sort of work together. And then across grade levels, we are really going to focus on social emotional learning, and Alex Miner and Gina Chalfa are counselors who are fabulous. If you haven't had a chance to work with them, they're wonderful. They're going to help us kind of figure out how to do that, but this is more how to get along with people, how to be empathetic, how to be sympathetic, those kinds of things. Kindness, tolerance.
Jennifer, can I add to that real quick?
Absolutely.
So Ms. Miner and I, this is our first year here, and so we are in the beginning stages of we've already started the character education program, but we're learning what works and where we need to, try to reorganize, figure out some other things. So with that being said, we know that just us two can't do it. We need our teachers to help us, which they are, and we also need parents to help us build this character education program. So that is talking to your kids about what it means to have good character. These character traits that we are focusing on every month, it's really having conversations with them about them. For example, next month, March, our character trait is tolerance. What does that mean in your family? Just talking about them ad nauseum, because we are really trying to add to what a Stratford student needs to graduate from here. We're known for our academics, but we want our kids to be known for their great character. And we need y'all's help with that. And we are continuing to work on where we need to add more, but just know that is one of our missions, and we are working hard to make these changes around here.
Yeah. Thank you. I have also asked Mr. Bolts that the middle school, and I don't know that this will happen, but I have asked that middle school be the test division for online grades. Again, that just improves communication. Next year, study hall will not be divided by grade level. This year, sixth grade, all sixth graders have study hall during sixth period. And next year, they're all gonna be, sixth, seventh, and eighth will be in together. And again, this will give those eighth graders a chance to demonstrate their leadership skills in front of the younger kids. And I want to start a weekly newsletter like Kelly does with her News from the Nest. I have to come up with a cute name. So again,
Just call it a newsletter.
or just call it a newsletter. Again, there's, a lack of creativity in my brain. So if anyone has any suggestions. But anyway, again, my email, my cell phone is in the directory. Do y'all have any questions, comments? I just kind of wanted this to be a round table. Anything that's freaking anybody out or any concerns I can address or?
What do you have planned for the rising fifth graders to get to know what's going to be going on?
Okay, rising fifth. They will, at some point, either in April or May, come spend an afternoon in the middle school. And we gather them as a whole group, and I'll talk to them briefly. I answer any questions they have, and they have very interesting questions for me. You and I were talking yesterday, one of the big questions is, when is recess? Yeah, and they don't get it in middle school. But they get a break, and they can eat a snack, which is very important. So we bring them up, I talk to them as a whole, and then we divide them into 4 groups, and they rotate among the 4 core academic classes. This is not a plug, but I am offering a middle school boot camp through Camp Eagle this summer. Then as we get closer to the beginning of the school year, I think it's the day that we do open house. We have a come on board day, and they get to come and get their lockers, get their schedules, set up the lockers. That used to be a bigger deal before we had the new Cantrell building where they have lockers in 4th and 5th grade. But anyway, it's still a big deal, especially for girls, to decorate. You can't have a locker without wallpaper and a chandelier and a throw rope. Yeah, 7th grade, they just throw their stuff in. But 6th grade, it's a big deal. So anyway.
And also in May, I'm going to be going into each 5th grade class and doing a lesson on transitioning from 5th grade into middle school to talk about the expectations, what's different and stuff like that. I polled actually each different class, and they said they want it, so they asked for it, and I will go and do it.
So I'm sorry, for those of us who haven't had a middle school to go through, can you kind of tell us what the average day is for a middle schooler? Like, how's the day structured?
Sure. They have to be in their homeroom class by 8:25. And we call that homeroom. And that's for 10 minutes, and that's where they get the morning announcements and such. And that's sort of their home base. And then they have 7 classes during the day. So they'll have math, science, English, history, and Mr. Lawson is staying. They have a world language, and they'll rotate through 4 world languages. They'll rotate through French, Spanish, Latin, and Mandarin, thank you, for a quarter each. And then they have a study hall, which is a regular blocked class, and they can work on homework, study, read, those kinds of things. If it happens to fall on a pretty day in the afternoon, a lot of times we take them outside and let them run around. Um,
And study hall is with the homeroom teacher, or?
not necessarily. And then they have PE. Boys have it on A, C, and E days, and I'll explain this in just a minute. And then those other days when they don't have PE, they have an elective. And so this year, for sixth grade electives, they rotated through art, technology, taught by Coach Jones, and digital citizenship. How to be a good citizen online, what to post, beware of online predators, those type things. And then after school they get out at 3:15, and then 3:15 to 3:45 is tutorial. Teachers are in their classrooms, and they can just pop into any class and get extra help, or if they were absent, make up a test.
And PE is how many days of the week? I'm
It's
sorry.
every other day. And we do a rotating schedule, the same as the upper school. It will confuse you for quite a while, but the kids pick it up very quickly. So on an A day, we go 1 through 7. On a B day, we start with 2 and end with 1. So if your child is weak in history and he or she has it first period, they're not always going to have it first. So if mornings they struggle, they're not quite awake, sometimes it'll be in the afternoon.
And a lot of it is information is online on the portal for students
Yes.
and parents, or?
Yes. The schedule will be online. Teachers post homework and assignments. Mr. Lawson does not, but everybody else does.
The sixth grade team does a great job at helping them understand it.
Yeah.
I still don't understand the rotating schedule. I don't worry about it anymore because it's their responsibility.
Yeah, and they get it.
They do.
I ask them. I'll stand out in the hallway and say, "Where's everybody going? What period is this?"
What day is it?
Yeah, and they-
Day.
Right. And they spit it out. It's amazing. Any other questions or worriments or suggestions? Are
No
y'all?
cell phones in the school?
No cell phones. They may bring them to school, but they are turned off and put in backpacks. If you need to get a message, which happens often, to your child, you can text me. I'll be sure to get it to them, or Robin Shore, who is our contact person. She is the knower of all things. She is the lady you contact. And somebody, I think it may have been you, if you have to come get your child during the day for an appointment or whatever, I know in lower school, they don't just send them out the door for many reasons. In middle school, we do. So what you would do is you would email the teacher and or Miss Shore and say, Janie has a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock. I need her to sign out at 1:30. So she goes up to Miss Shore's office, signs herself out, and you will have talked with Janie about where you're gonna meet her. And she just walks out. Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about after school? Because.
Oh, yes,
just-
that
Especially,
becomes-
this is again a sixth grade, a rising sixth grade, but,
Yes.
we go from
We have no
ASAP
ASAP.
and enrichments and all those good
Yes.
things
Oh,
to
I'm glad you brought that up.
tutorial and school's over and they're on their own.
They are on their own. The library's open every day, Monday through Thursday, until 4:30. After tutorial, they can sit in the library as long as they can behave, and most of our children do. But then after 4:30, there is absolutely no supervision. And I don't think any of your children would fall into this category, but we have had some issues with kids who are left here till 6 or 6:30 or later, but they are not supervised. And I know that we feel very safe and very comfortable here, and that's great. But, that first We send home grades every 4 weeks, basically, a report card or a progress report. And so you get that first midterm, the second week of September, and the comment under it says, would love to see Janie at tutorial. And you say, what? Wait a minute. Janie's bingo, so you fire off an email to the teacher and say, I thought Janie was coming to tutorial. No, ma'am. So then you get your bill, and you have a $100 charge at the Eagle's Nest. Y'all laugh, I'm serious. I'm serious, because they can go to the Eagle's Nest, and they buy $100 worth of candy. They're not buying pencils and paper and binders. They can't find their PE uniform, which you've already bought 4. So on the way to PE, they go in there and they charge for a PE uniform. And then they buy $10 worth of candy that they shove into their pockets to eat later.
Or for you to wash.
Yeah. So, and they gather, they're social creatures in middle school. They are social creatures. That is their number one goal. And we know that. And we just sort of, as these issues come up, we just sort of address them and sort of point them in the right way. From 3:15 to 3:45.
Is that optional or?
It is optional unless parents decide it's not.
So is it for every subject?
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am?
So they can go to whosoever, whatever subject area they needed assistance, they could go see that teacher. There's no structured day that history is available on a certain day or?
No, ma'am. Now, every now and then a teacher will have a doctor's appointment or whatever and not be able to be there, but they always let the kids know.
What do you see as the biggest adjustment that the 5th graders are making when they're coming into 6th grade? What's the hardest?
The newfound independence. But again, the 6th grade teachers have been doing this for decades, and they help guide them, because we know where those pitfalls are. Organization, a lot of times, seems to be an issue for them as well. But again, each teacher, they ask that each class has its own binder. And it may seem very picky and very trivial to you all that history has to be green and English has to be green. I'm sorry. History is white, but this is the system that they have found works best for 6th graders.
And
Now,
are they
7th
going back to the locker and
yeah,
between
because the
classes?
lockers are right there. Kelly.
And 6th grade parents, you'll have to get your own supplies. They don't just magically appear on the first day of school.
They
like
do
in
not.
lower school.
No, and all that will be sent out at the beginning of the summer so that you can, and we don't require bizarre stuff. We don't ask you to get, paper towels and Purex. I mean, we provide all that. But you need paper and pencils and pens.
And the Chromebook.
Yes, a laptop of some kind, and I suggest the cheapest one. Because you won't believe where I find Chromebooks, laptops, all over the place. Just left.
And they sling those backpacks.
Oh. So the cheapest laptop, please do not let your child talk you into getting a MacBook. Unless that's what you want them to have.
I use a Chromebook. Chromebooks are really, they're inexpensive.
Great, and that's all they need. They need to be able to sign on to their Stratford Apps account, their Google stuff.
The 6th graders.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say they have keys, they'll have keys, starting 6th grade too. They have
Yes,
to keep up with.
that's right. I didn't realize till yesterday that they don't, in lower school, they don't have key cards, because there was a fifth grader,
They don't
bless
want to
his
go anywhere
heart.
by themselves.
Yeah.
They go in a line.
Yeah, and see, we just say go. And they will lose them, y'all, they will lose them constantly. And that's okay, we're working on a solution for that too.
Is that
I don't-
only for door access, or is that also like a charge card for them?
No, it's only.
They don't need the charge card, they just give them the name.
So Eagles
And lunch changes too, doesn't it, Kelly?
Yes, lunch changes because in lower school, they go with their teacher by class. And so it's kind of a staggered entrance. In middle school, it's lunchtime, everybody goes. And I know it's still by grade, I think, isn't it, or is it not? No, everybody goes. So they've got to manage, instead of going through a line with 20 kids, there are going to be 200 kids getting in line, and they don't have somebody saying, now, did you get a vegetable? I need you to go get a vegetable. Or you can't have 3 things of fries and an ice cream sandwich for your lunch, that's all. If that's what they get, that's what they're gonna get. So you have to have some serious conversations with your children about what, if they're going to get school lunch, or what they can get in addition to what you pack at home. Because again, you will turn around and all of a sudden be $150 in the hole to flip.
Because they're spending
And you can't figure
$15
out
a
why.
day.
Yes, and when you go and they've gotten a $3 ice cream every day,
That they take one bite of and throw away.
so it's a lot of it's just having conversations ahead of time and being aware of what they can do without anybody watching them, because that they're expected to be sort of responsible about that.
And I do make comments on their food choice.
Yeah, I mean, in lower school, they have, like, as they go through, they have to get like a red, a blue agreement, you know, they've color coded it so they at least get a fruit and a vegetable and not all french fries and pizza. But they don't do that in middle school.
No.
We had to go over, like, you can get the meat and vegetable thing for this amount, and then if you get fries with that, and Zoe was like getting a meat from this section, and then she'd get fries, and then she'd get something from another section. She had a $10 line.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
know.
just because she didn't plate it right.
Right, because she didn't, you can only choose out of this category. And I went over it with her, because we were going through money like that, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what are you eating? And so,
And she was eating 2 fries. I mean,
yeah, she was eating, getting a grilled cheese and fries and a cookie.
Yeah.
And so I said, let's look at this and see. I said,
Yeah.
do you realize? And she didn't know
No.
that she was spending
No, because-
$10 for, she got what she wanted.
You're talking about the charging, all they do is they go up with their tray and they type in their 4-digit number and walk away.
They don't know how much they've spent. They don't
No, no, they don't.
Why not? Why don't we let them know?
There are prices up there,
Yeah.
but this
don't
year, there are prices up
Yeah.
there. But they don't
Pay
pay.
attention.
When have they ever had to pay attention to how much something costs?
Yeah, well,
They never have.
Well, and that's a
So-
conversation that, I encourage you all to have with your kids when you get that account balance or whatever. Same thing with the Eagles Nest.
Yeah, during break they'll charge, after school they'll charge, before school they'll charge, so it's.
I'd like to understand the Flick system better myself,
Yeah.
because I have no clue.
It takes
Okay,
a
let me
minute.
write that down,
Yeah.
because maybe I can get Chef Josh to come
Yeah,
next time and
Yeah,
talk about
he
Flip.
also does that for lower school.
Yeah.
Or if you could put it
can we
in
have it
an email.
emailed?
Yeah, so that people can walk
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, and see how it works. I don't know that the kids even really know how it works.
yeah, because I was running into that with Arnold. He would pick up through
Okay, these are great questions.
which doesn't
What
make
else?
any sense. Because
Yeah,
in their mind,
yeah.
And anybody can disagree or.
Okay, y'all hold on one second.
And I know there's a reason that y'all do it this way, but it would be super helpful for parents that do work
Yeah.
if y'all could get everyone on the same schedule when you have a day off. Like I know there's a reason y'all do that. Like for the teacher conference days when, for instance, Monday, Tuesday, you have lower school out. I mean, you know what I'm saying. On Wednesday, middle school goes back, and Tuesday, lower school doesn't. And it's hard.
It is.
It's really tough for parents to manage all of
I
that.
can address that though. If
I
we
know
do
there's a
it-
reason,
If we do it the other way, if we have 2 divisions in school, 2 out of the 4, it counts as a day of school. So if we have all the divisions out, we have to go to school longer. We'd have to add a week of school just to cover conference days. By staggering it that way, we can get out of school when we do. If we took a day off every time we had conference days and did all the divisions, that's 3 a year, we'd have to go to school 3 more days
That's fine.
at the end of the year. But I mean, there's a big, that's totally, there's a big calendar.
Yeah, I mean, are y'all okay with that?
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, if you're okay with that, we would have, and I remember people up here screaming that they didn't want to start 3 days earlier, they didn't want to go 3
I know,
days
I'm
later.
kidding.
But that's why it's staggered, is because if there are two divisions in school, it counts as a day of school for legal purposes.
Well, and back in the day, we used to do that, and then what we found was that people just took that day as a vacation day.
Right.
And then parents wanted, teachers to meet another time.
I was just wondering because it would be really helpful if everybody were on the same schedule.
Yes, it would.
Um,
Oh, and I do want to bring up half days. In middle school, we have half days. The week before winter break, we have half days for exams. And the last week of school, we have half days for exams. And as a working mom, I understand that that is very difficult. So we will provide supervision until regular pickup on those half days.
Just on that note, I didn't know, like, for these meetings, like, I just happen to be off on Fridays, but like for parents who work, like, if we could even do like maybe at 1 at night, because I did see where, you had posted about doing the video, and people were like, oh, great, thanks, but just being here in the building, like, letting them see you see them, like, it's just hard
Okay.
for those other parents, so I just think maybe, not
That's
maybe
a
not
good
every
idea.
meeting, but I
Yeah.
think, like, there are several meetings that happen during the day, and if you're working, you can't always just,
It's hard.
it's very hard.
Mhm.
Especially if you have like a schedule where you can't just drop everything. Like some jobs have more flexibility, but maybe just
Sure.
even splitting the meetings. Because I saw where people had commented, I think the video is great, but I've watched sit meetings on videos and it's not the same
It's
as
not.
being in the room.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
This is unrelated, but for any parents of girls, Ms. Sweat's office is on by the 6th grade locker section, the girls' bathroom. So she has feminine products, and then Ms. Minor and I's office is on the other side by the 7th and 8th grade locker section and girls' restrooms. So we have supplies in our office tucked away in a cabinet so they can just come and walk in and get it. And we let the girls know that, but just to ease any concerns about that topic, we've got the girls covered.
And we also have clothes that they can change into.
They dress out for being in.
So they have no recess, I mean, and is there a particular reason why they can't go to recess?
Just don't have time in our schedule. Yeah, every other day. That's why if it's a pretty day, we take them outside. They do walk outside to lunch and from lunch, and they run and jump over the benches.
Over each other. They turn
It's not the same as recess, but Mr. Bolton and I really want to find a way to get some sort of recess, every day. We just haven't yet to find a way.
Do you all have like a parent chat group or like a Facebook page or a?
No,
what is that
but
called?
it's
Which
a good
connects
idea.
parents, so that they can talk about stuff or discuss
yeah.
or.
No, but it's a good idea.
I know in lower school sometimes we had like a class page.
Right.
We usually start this in 4th grade.
But if I just did a Facebook middle school
Middle
page.
school page.
Yeah,
That's
because
a
I
good
get
idea.
zero information out of my son, zero. It's like, I'm the last to find out about something, I'm running off.
Yeah. That's normal, frustrating, but
Yes.
normal.
Have to wear feet today, right?
Oh, and in 6th grade, usually, is it every Thursday when they get the signed paper?
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
Because
okay.
it's Thursday in lower school.
Okay.
So we send in sixth grade, they get signed papers sent home every Wednesday.
There's some.
And
And then after sixth grade,
That's it. That's why I have volunteered for middle school to be the first
There's some.
online grades.
So
Yes.
that's what I was gonna ask. So would that be like, I know friends of mine who have kids in summer school in Nashville, I mean, they take a test today and it's graded by Monday. Monday, it's online and they can see it. Is that what you're talking about, or just, and that's, I think that's
That is
fantastic.
the number one question Lori Palmer is asked when prospective families call. Number one
I
question.
mean, I would love that.
Well, and
More information, so okay.
that's the way I look at it, is, you know, as parents, all we want is information. You know,
Yeah, they may have
I don't
signed
think I've seen
papers,
a test
but
in 3 years.
sometimes they'll pull them out and it's like, oh, I forgot. This time paper was from last week just sign these.
right,
And then you don't really know what's going on until you have a conference with the teacher.
right,
No idea what the grades in there.
right. Or they hand them to you to sign as they're getting out of the car.
Right.
And there are 25 cars behind you, so you just sign.
That's a bad grade, well, that was 3 weeks ago.
Right. Now, I can't promise it's gonna happen, but I'm pushing for middle school.
It is 2020.
After sixth grade, you're indicating that there's no information as far as grades unless we get the information from our child or reach out to the teacher after sixth grade.
Well, no. Teachers will email you.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's no information,
okay.
but you're not gonna get,
Everything.
You know,
Great.
Yeah.
Like we're getting.
right,
Okay.
Well, and the kind of work that they do changes. They're not doing a worksheet every day or something that you can check. And they're doing longer projects and group projects and papers
and
and
labs.
labs and things like that that you can't necessarily send home every week.
Right,
No news is good news.
Yes.
yeah. But then also don't freak out if you get an email from a teacher, because sometimes the teacher will just send home an email to brag.
That's the great thing about volunteering though,
Yeah,
is you're not like, you're in there working with the teacher, you'll be here and you'll see them in the hall. You know, you're not gonna grab them for a parent-teacher conference, but they're gonna go, oh, let me tell you what your child did. Or, I'm so proud of, see, you get to know the teachers.
Yeah.
And I'm preaching to the choir, because all y'all are here and you volunteer. But you know that you get that little bit of extra information about your kid when you volunteer because you're here,
yeah.
you know, and you feel more comfortable communicating with them. Because like when Zoe was in sixth grade, there weren't really any volunteer things to do. I didn't know her teachers until I got called in by Miss Sweat for a math grade, and we had to talk, and I was scared to death, because she's kind of intimidating. But
Yeah, it's always the wrong people who are scared.
I got to know her, and now I just quiver just a little bit. Not as much. So that's what I love about being able to volunteer and get in and help. But I'm preaching to the choir because all y'all help. So I just don't want it to stop.
Right,
So
now that you're moving to middle school, you don't, I don't
I'm
want
not
you
going
to
to
either.
helicopter or snowplow. I just
Or
want to be
lawnmower, that's now a new
lawnmower
term.
or any other heavy machinery. I don't want to
Right.
do that. I just want to be the little fly on the wall that gets to walk by the cafeteria and see my kid laughing with friends. Or,
Oh, yeah, lunch.
And
They're not gonna want you to come eat with
yeah,
them.
they're not going to want lunch with you anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Fifth grade parents, it's about to all end. You don't get to
Yeah.
go to lunch next year. Sorry.
send donuts though for birthdays.
But on that vein with what Julie was saying, where is the line though? Because I do think in middle school, you do need to let the teachers kind of take the lead.
Yeah.
And you know, when do you kind of step in and say, I need more information, or where do you kind of pull back and say, okay, the kids are getting bigger, and do we need to just stay out of the way, I guess?
Well, I can always help you with that. But most of you are very intuitive. I mean, you know your kid better than anybody else. And if you think there's something going on, I would suggest you always reach out.
And their friend groups are gonna change a little bit. That was something that Mr. Bowles warned us about when they went in sixth grade, was their friend groups are gonna change a little, because they're changing. And then there's gonna be some, I can only talk girl stuff, there's gonna be some drama. Don't react fast on the drama. Let them kind of deal with it. They're gonna deal with it a little bit better, and, because today they might not be best friends, but tomorrow they're gonna be best friends. And you hate my friend. No, I don't hate your friend, but yesterday you cried about your friend. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's up and down and down and up and.
Yeah.
That's why we need a support group.
Yes, yes.
Because this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm, it will.
Who was that, who did we have come speak about 5 years ago that addressed that? It was a man, he's a psychologist, he's written lots of books, he wrote a book about the kids going to camp. Michael Thompson, does that ring a bell? Anyway, he came and spoke, and he specifically addressed that, and he specifically addressed it in middle schoolers, and he said, one of the best things you can do as a middle school parent is not what he calls interview for pain.
Yeah.
He said, your children will get in the car and go, oh my gosh, Catherine Causey is the meanest, I hate her. We were best friends yesterday, and I hate her so much, and I never want to talk to her again. And so you as a mama are gonna be thinking all night long, going, oh my God, that Catherine Causey isn't her. So the next day, you're gonna go back to school, and she and Catherine are gonna have made up, they're gonna be best friends again, because that's what middle schoolers do. They hate each other, and then they love each other, and they hate each other. Well, you're still thinking about that, so the next day when your child gets in the car, you're gonna go, what did Catherine do to you today? You know, it's like they're looking for it, and so they're like, well, I don't know. We're best friends again. But in your brain, that does not make sense. That makes perfect sense to a 12, 13, 14-year-old. And so that's what he talks about, is that in middle school, you have to do a lot of listening and just not taking it personally when they say they have suffered a grave injustice off the hands of a friend, or that, you know, that kind of thing, because you got to wait and kind of track a pattern with that. Don't do it on a 24-hour cycle, because a middle schooler's 24-hour cycle is very different than everybody else's.
It can change 10 times.
And
Or
so
24
that
times.
interviewing for pain is probably one of the worst, and that's what he called it, is one of the, where, you know, let them get in the car and talk to you instead of, because you're still holding on to whatever they said, because your baby's feelings were hurt, and that makes total sense.
Mama bear.
And that makes total sense, but don't bring it up, let them bring it up to you. So.
And that goes beyond middle school. I can attest to
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And with boys, you may never get it at all.
Not fix it.
No, because they just sort of fix it themselves. Sometimes, not all the times. It sounds, are they changing classes? Y'all want a tour of the middle school, since you're here? No? Sure. All right, well, let's go walk.